Hey Dan, it's Justin from Long McQuade. It's been ages since we've been together and made one of these videos, so I figured it was about time to pick up where we left off. And I thought today I'm going to ship you a little bit of bliss. If you want to check out 3 great pedals from Chase Bliss Audio, then join us for this episode of I Don't Have a Band right now. Just squeaked it in. Okay, so I got everything right here in the bag. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to do is take off my mask. So Dan, I got everything right here. I'm going to box it up and I'm going to send it out to you so you can try it out in your studio. And as always, let me know what you think.
Now that's fast shipping. Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Have a Band. So I'm thrilled to be collaborating with Long McQuade once again in our series For the Love of Gear. Today we're going to be talking about Chase Bliss Audio. Chase Bliss makes some awesome pedals, but the challenge with them is they can be a little bit intimidating because there's a lot of functionality in those pedals. Now their slogan is digital brain, analog heart. Imagine you've got analog pedals with digital functionality, create a great overdrive and be able to save presets, have MIDI functionality. It's pretty cool, but it can be a bit intimidating. So the purpose of the video today is Justin down at Long McQuade, he's going to dumb it down for me. I'm going to step back in terms of presenting the information and I'm going to lean on Justin's expertise and I'm just going to kick back and make some music and see what I can do with these pedals. We've got a distortion overdrive, we've got a chorus pedal, and we've got a reverb. I'll let Justin give us the details. By the way, Long McQuade has supplied the pedals for this video. They are Canada's largest musical instrument retailer. If you want any more information about these pedals or any other products, I'm going to put a link in the description. Make sure to check them out. They'll be more than happy to help you. All right, without further ado, let's turn our attention to Justin at Long McQuade.
Hey there, Dan. I've lined up a couple of different pedals that I'm going to send you that bear a little bit more, I guess, attention, and that's Chase Bliss Audio pedals. These are really, really interesting pedals. I had put the Tonal Recall delay pedal on the Pedalboard for the Pedalboard video that we did a while ago. It is an intimidating brand. The pedals have all sorts of knobs and switches, and then these dip switches on the back, and 2-foot switches, and lights, and jacks, and it looks like a lot. So what I've done is I've sort of taken the liberty of, putting together 3 of my favorite pedals and just explaining how they work in the context of them being pedals and not going into all the dip switches and the MIDI functionality and the presets and all that other stuff. Let's keep it real simple and just look at these as the great effects pedals that they are. First off, everybody needs a distortion pedal. So I got here the Chase Bliss Brothers, which is kind of a neat title for these because it actually is 2 separate drive pedals in one box. So the first side is an IC, integrated circuit kind of drive, and the second side is a JFET drive. What makes this pedal interesting is the way that you can arrange both sides of this pedal. So it's got 3 rows of 2 knobs like that. The way to think of it is side A, side B, and then the 2 knobs in the middle and the switch control basically both sides at once, almost like a channel strip on a mixing board. Side A and side B each have a gain and a tone, so just like a 2-knob distortion, almost like an MXR Distortion Plus or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Instead of side by side, they're vertical. The switch down below basically governs whether this side of the pedal is set up as a boost, an overdrive, or a fuzz. And same thing with the other side, boost, overdrive, or fuzz. And so depending where you have that switch set, it's different levels of saturation and distortion and what have you. And then in the middle, you have the master volume, and then you have the mix knob. And this is really, really important. I'm going to get to this in a second. The 2-foot switches on the bottom basically toggle side A and side B on or off. That's it. Like I said, don't worry about the, the intimidating, little dip switches and all this extra connectivity. Think of it as 2 drives in one box, like a JHS double barrel or something like that. When we get to the middle here, this mix section, you can have side A cascade into side B. You can have side B cascade into side A, or you can have them both running in parallel at the same time. So one's not running into the other, they're both going to the output jack at the same time. This gives you a ton of flexibility in terms of the voicing of your drive and how, if you toggle one on and the other off, or keep one on all the time and switch one in and out, it's going to give you a ton of different colors to paint with in terms of overdrive. I like to set up one side, it doesn't matter which, as a fuzz setting. So with pretty heavy gain, roll off the tone as you like it. And then set the other side to either a boost or a drive and set it slightly cleaner. And then what you do is you set the mix knob, or the mix switch, sorry, to the parallel mode. And what that does is it gives you the fuzz and the overdrive going to the output jack at the same time. And it's almost like a clean blend then with the mix knob. You can sort of blend back in a little bit of mildly overdriven or lightly boosted signal so that you get the clarity of your normal, guitar with that heavy saturation from the fuzz. And this is going to work real well with that Marshall of yours, the JCM 900. I had one years ago, and this is really going to punch it up. So before we get into the next one here, Dan, I noticed that you didn't send the Captor 8, the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor 8 back. I can assume that you're keeping it, but, give me a call, let me know what's up there. The next one here is the Chase Bliss, the Warped Vinyl. This is their chorus pedal. It can be a vibrato as well. Really, really cool. This pedal can go really deep, but I'm not going to go that deep on it. The 6 knobs govern the tone, right? So you get a tone control. You can make the pedal really dark and sort of smoky and almost like an old vinyl record, hence the name. Or you can make it, nice and bright and crisp, and nice and detailed in terms of the modulation that you're getting. The RPM is just the rate. There's the depth control, so how deep you want your movement to go. The warp control does much the same thing. There's a mix control. The 2-foot switches do bypass, and then there's a tap tempo as well. And the tap tempo is neat because you can sync the modulation to the time of your song or to your echoes or what have you, whatever else you have going on in your mix. So that's not a common feature, but it can be useful if you need to time your modulation to get everything moving in the same direction. So for this, instead of arranging it by sort of channel strip columns like we saw in the Brothers, this one's a little bit different. You have the 4 main knobs governing sort of the overall, standard chorus pedal stuff. This section down here, they've sort of drawn a box around it, which is the depth and the warp knob, and then the 2 switches below that. I'm just going to give you some preset, like a preset that I've figured out for myself, where you put the 2 switches to the outside, and you basically sort of leave those at high noon. I know it sounds stupidly simple, but that's going to give you a shortcut to, to the chorus sound, and then you just adjust everything else as you want it. But this is a super, super deep pedal. You can really get into detail with the waveform itself that governs the modulation and how much modulation you want, how out of phase it is with your original signal. You can really go down the rabbit hole with this. But again, that's not the purpose of me telling you this. This is just to get you started. next one here I have is the Chase Bliss, the Dark World Reverb. So again, we have a channel strip layout, side 1, side 2, and then common controls in the center. They've broken it up into 2 different sections. There's the world reverbs, which you can think of as like reverbs that exist in the real world. So you have the spring reverb, the plate reverb, and the hall reverb. And that little switch will go between those settings. The dwell is how long the reverb tail is, and the pre-delay is really interesting. This is something I wish a lot more reverb pedals had. It delays the sound of the reverb. So when you hit a note, there's like a delay before you hear the reverb kick in. You hear the reverb, but you don't hear it sort of smothering your note. Which is really, really cool. So that's a great feature there. On the other side, the other foot switch here will kick on and off the dark setting here. And these are basically reverbs that don't exist in the real world, so they're sort of made up. And the algorithms here are mod, so modulated reverb, shim, which is their take on the shimmer reverb, you know, the Brian Eno, Daniel Lanois kind of thing. And then there's the black, which I suspect might be a take on the Eventide Black Hole reverb, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. And these 2 knobs that say decay and modify, these 2 parameters, they actually change depending on which algorithm you choose. So again, not going to go down that particular rabbit hole. I would say just fuss around with these and see what settings you like. In the center, you have the mix control. And then you have the overall tone control, so how bright or how dark you want the reverbs. Again, which is really useful because you can sort of set the reverb back in the mix relative to your dry guitar, and sort of, you can almost set up like these lush kind of pads underneath whatever it is that you're playing and, you know, really go to outer space. And that is the Dark World Reverb.
There are a lot of guitar pedal manufacturers these days, but very few, if any, like Chase Bliss. The combination of creativity and technology they put into their pedals is absolutely insane. I just scratched the surface in this video. I want to thank Justin for getting me over that first hump, because really at their core, they're just really good pedals. All the additional features, there's just so much more to discover, but the essence of the pedals are really simple to navigate, and pulling out some good sounds was not that difficult at all. But I do want to thank Justin for sort of getting me to that starting point. And I mean, there's just a lot more to discover, and I look forward to learning more about these pedals. I want to thank Long McQuade for supplying the pedals for this video. If you want any information about Chase Bliss products or anything else that they cover, make sure to check them out. I'm going to put a link in the description below. So thanks again to Long McQuade. If you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned a subscribe. I've got a lot of videos in this channel revolving around this home studio, geared towards the home studio enthusiast and the home recording musician. So if you want to click that subscribe button and come along for the ride. If you really want to support this channel, I am on Patreon. Links to everything I've discussed are in the description below. And above all else, I hope I'll see you again in another video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you can do by yourself, right from your own home. I hope to see you again next time. Now that's fast shipping. Hey there, you just ruined a perfect one.